This is Diana Piquet. Thank you for watching this video and coming to my channel. If this is your first time here, I am a blended mother of 5 kids ranging from 2 years old to 17 years old. I'm a happy mom in my second marriage, and I make all sorts of crazy different videos about my life and the things that work for me and the things that I struggle with. So the topic for today that I wanted to talk about was sexual harassment. I actually wasn't going to make this video today, but it has been really on my mind. I just was with 3 girlfriends last weekend and the subject came up, and I've thought about it in the situations that I've been through in my life, and I just felt really compelled to sort of like speak out and say something about how hard it is and what people go through and the shame of it, and how hard that is when your livelihood's tied to it and you feel like your choice is really like you can quit the job, or you can make your car payment or your house payment or get diapers for your kid or whatever. So it can be a really hard thing for some people who are being harassed in the workplace. And then the other hard thing about it, like how frustrating it is to know that there's other people that knew, and how shameful that is, and how down on the human race you can be when you know there's other people around that know what's going on, but they're just sort of turning a blind eye to it. Recently I was at a big women's meeting, and it was women in the back and then our daughters in the front. A big producer was there. She was our speaker for that month. And she was talking about being in business and climbing her way to the top and blah, blah, blah. And so people were asking questions, and I couldn't help it. I raised my hand and I said, in light of the fact that I have 4 daughters and 3 of them are of age where they could have this, they could be victim to this at some point. What are your thoughts on how to talk to your kids about sexual harassment, your boys and your girls? I was really, really pleased with what she came back and said. She said that it's an ongoing conversation, and it's her and her husband that talk to her kids about it, because it's really important that girls know that not all men are like the men that they might encounter. Because you don't want to raise girls that are like angry and like paranoid, but at the same time you want to raise girls that are knowledgeable and have that, like, knowledge is power, right? So you want to have them equipped for what could be coming at them. I came home that night and talked to my husband about it, and we've talked to our kids a bit about it, but that night I ended up sharing with my kids my story. I worked in a bar. It was a bar with a restaurant. It was a national chain, and they had a bunch of different men who ran the place, and you can kind of tell even now, like, my God, it's been like 25 years and it still is upsetting, like it makes me angry. It makes me feel like someone took my power away. Someone when I was just a little girl, essentially, because that's kind of all you are when you're like 20 or 21, and I really didn't know how to kind of like fight back. This was one instance that this happened, but we were required to wear very short skirts and pantyhose and a top from this establishment, but it had to be tied up like under your bra, so it was a very sexy costume, and it kind of made me feel like I had it coming, like being dressed like that, and like, now I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that was my uniform. That's how I made money. I mean, that's what all the girls that I was working with wore. He called me into his office, and it was just he and I in his office, and I was sitting down at a chair, and he had some paperwork for me to sign. I don't remember what it was for. And as I'm signing the paperwork, my neck was like this, and he started like kissing my neck. And I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? And he's like, oh, I thought I was getting the vibe, like I thought that that's what you wanted. And I'm like, no, that's not what I wanted at all. Basically, in retrospect, there's no way in hell that this guy thought that I was interested in him. I'd never given him any vibes. I barely talked with him. He was super unattractive and like 55 years old, and I was 20. After I wasn't there anymore and I talked to other girls, it happened to a lot of girls, but the power that the guy had was that we all kept quiet. He did it privately to different people, and I felt like it was kind of my fault. I must have brought it on, because he turned this whole like, well, I thought you wanted it. And then even when I said, no, I don't want you to do that, he kind of like kept coming towards me, or like kind of like pushed me back up against a corner, but it was enough to provoke me to really like feel like I physically had to push him away. I don't remember like what came over me, but I ended up shoving him into a wall, leaving the office, and quitting the job. It never even crossed my mind to call corporate and like report this guy, which now that I look back on him all, that's such a shame, because I really just passed it on to the next girl, and that guy might still be at some corporate chain doing the same crap to someone else. but I didn't speak up at that time because I was embarrassed. I felt like if I told like my peers or if I told an older generation, I might have someone say, well, look at what you're wearing. You know, you look like a slut, which I pretty much did, but that was kind of what you did back then. So, or why are you working in a bar? If you don't want to be treated like that, don't work in a bar. I stopped working in a bar after that because I didn't want to be treated. I think the biggest part of the whole thing for me was that I thought about it a lot afterwards, and I'm like, gosh, was I giving mixed signals, or is it my fault, or am I like soliciting people without even knowing it? Made me really second guess myself as a woman. And you know, I have 27 years experience on that girl who that happened to. So now I know, you know, I know that there's guys out there. I know there's great guys out there. There's great men who would never take advantage. And then there's, you know, he was taking advantage of the fact that he was a restaurant manager and he had tons of young, good looking, impressionable girls who wanted shifts. So he had power. The whole point of this whole thing is that I did not want to waste any time, and my husband and I talked to the girls right away about how they should handle themselves, because I really wish I would have handled myself differently back there at that time.
And now that I think about it, I bet you there's not just a hashtag that's me too, but a hashtag that's like hashtag watch out, or hashtag not my daughters, or hashtag that shit's not happening again.
I felt so good about being able to tell my girls about my experiences and what happened. And I think it's really important to share with boys and girls from a young age when it's appropriate for them. Give them that knowledge so that they have that power and they are equipped for things that might happen to them or their friends down the line, and they aren't surprised or shocked or caught off balance. I think one of the things that generationally, the best gift we can give to that next generation is communicating our experience. And when we don't tell the next generation the sum of what we learned, they're really missing out on our knowledge. So it's really important. I mean, we've made leaps and bounds since I was a kid, being open with our kids. So I think it's such an important thing to talk to your kids, communicate, and be open.
My generation already went through that, and I think we're preparing our daughters and sons how to behave better as sons and how to take care of themselves as daughters. And better watch out. That shit's not gonna fly anymore.
I hope you enjoyed this video. This is sort of like my impromptu video about sexual harassment in the workplace. It could be anywhere. It could be at your church. It can happen anywhere. But I just wanted to talk about that experience and how that was for me and how I would have handled it differently. I'm really hoping that if any of my kids ever have to deal with anything like that, that they know that they're not alone. There's a lot of people that have been through it, and that it's not their fault, and that there's a whole group of people who care, and that they don't have to be isolated or deal with it on their own. So if you like this video, please subscribe. It's the little red button below when you're watching YouTube, and what that'll do is give you all my free videos. It's totally no obligation, but every time I make a new video, you'll get a little notification so you can watch the latest thing that I send out. If you could give it a thumbs up too, that'd be super helpful. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.